Alright guys, this is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be a bit of a baseball commentary. This is the 2003 NLCS. This is probably the series that had the most effect on me when I was growing up, a young baseball fan. This is famously the series where Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor, two phenomenal starting pitching stars for the Chicago Cubs, hard carried the team into the playoffs. Now this is Game 3 of the NLCS, which is the series right before the World Series, so Wood and Pryor have already carried the team through the NLDS, the first round. This is Game 2. Game 1 was this epic, exciting game where the Marlins came back and won. Game 2 was that was Game 1, and then Game 2 was this sort of boring game where the Cubs won really one-sidedly. So I'm going to be breaking down this inning because this is a very important inning and sort of the turning point of the series. Okay, so Kerry Wood is in. He has about 90 pitches, and this is just a replay from the last half inning. So Kerry's in, the hero of the team. He has 90 pitches, strike one, heater down the middle. Now if you don't know Wood's repertoire, let's turn it on normal speed. If you don't, and this is the highest quality because it's from 2003, link will be in the description for the source of this game if you want to watch the whole thing. So if you don't know Wood's repertoire, this is a guy who is insanely filthy but has always had control problems, which a lot of pitchers really struggle with, especially when they're young. So the second pitch there we saw was a fastball strike. Now this is a very important pitch. Notice 83 miles an hour. That's a slider that gets too much of the plate. So if you look at Wood's repertoire, he has an incredibly filthy heater, an incredibly filthy curveball that breaks vertically, and a slider that can break a mixture of straight horizontally and horizontal vertical, sort of more of a slurve. And Wood as a pitcher always had the best stuff in the world, but he had control issues. So he gets strike 1 and 2 with fastballs, and this is the bottom of the Marlins lineup, 8, 9, and 1. And then he goes for a slider. It's supposed to be down and away, and it's inside. He hangs it a bit, and the hitter inside outs it. So now Wood has to deal with the somewhat injury prone, at least he was in this series, in this season. He's coming off of a severe injury, a broken wrist, I believe, Mike Lowell. And a wrist and the hands in general are just the bread and butter of a hitter. You really have to be able to move your hands quickly and get your hands around on these very sharp Kerry Wood fastballs. Wood, of course, is a power pitcher. And we're seeing a highlight here of Mike Lowell hitting a pinch hit homer in Game 1 when they were playing in Wrigley. Lowell wasn't really healthy enough at the beginning of the series to play out in the field. And this Florida Marlins team was exceptional. As you see a heater on the corner there for strike 1. This team featured Mike Lowell in his prime, before he went to the Red Sox. Miguel Cabrera in his rookie year. This is the Miguel Cabrera that is on their-ish end, not mine. This is the Miguel Cabrera who won the Triple Crown and was like the god-tier carry for the Tigers when they were a pennant-winning team. They were a really sharp team. The Marlins also had Derek Lee before he went to the Cubs, the very talented first baseman. And at the top of the lineup, they had Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo, two speed fleas. We're going to see Juan Pierre here is on deck. And even if Lowell hits into a double play here, he's going to be featured. Two guys are up in the pen. One of them is Kyle Farnsworth. You really have to consider here that this is the season where Dusty Baker rode Pryor and Wood into the ground. These were two young arms that really didn't have a lot of tread on them or experience, and Dusty would consistently leave these guys out long into games, as we see a backup slider there missing. And this is a very interesting moment. The count runs to 3-1, and crucially, with Wood at 97 pitches, the pitching coach is going to come out here in the middle of a count. And this is Larry Rothschild. His signature, he was on the Mets for a while. He comes and talks into his hand because I guess he's worried about John Boy on the other team reading his lips. He doesn't do this back in 03 though. But this is very interesting. Almost always you see pitching coaches waiting until fresh at bats to come out. But because this is the playoffs, he's going to come out early. This is part of what makes National League Baseball so much more fascinating than American League Baseball whenever the playoffs come, because Mike Lowell here, the number 9 hitter, is a pinch hitter. This is a guy who was not in the game and wasn't healthy enough to start. They got Miguel Cabrera starting at third, just trying to get Miguel Cabrera in the lineup any way they can, which is really how he was used primarily in this rookie year of his. And with a 3-1 count, Leigh Rothschild came out and talked to Wood. And remember, Wood is a guy with control issues. Presumably he was talking about pitch selection, maybe mechanics, how to get the ball over. So what does Woody throw here? He goes with the heater, which Lowell misses. Now, let's just keep in mind that the first batter got on base with the missed slider. Dusty Baker uses Pryor and Wood to excess. They rank in top 5 in strikeouts. They were 1 and 2 in that regard. The first duo to do that since Johnson and Schilling of 01. And here we see on 3 and 2 a heater just low. And Mike Lowell, the incredibly disciplined veteran pitcher, misses. And Kerry Wood had over 100 walks this season, his 2003 season. Him and Pryor both, if you look at their careers, their 2003 seasons were really their immortal years, the years in which they were the absolute best. So with runners on first and second and Kerry Wood suffering from control issues, we're going to see some typical old school National League baseball as Juan Pierre, the insidiously fast player, is going to come up here and almost certainly bunt, as the players getting on second and third with 1 out means that the Marlins, who are running out of outs, we see a bunt come down here. Wood knows what's coming. He rifles at the first and takes the sacrifice as Eric Karros runs close to make sure they don't try to get cute. But the reason you sacrifice there is the sacrifice is a play that has sort of fallen out of the metagame and fallen out of vogue in recent years in baseball. It's because if you only have, say, 8 outs left and you have an elite pitcher you're facing, it's way easier to score that 1 run and tie it up and then potentially be able to work into extra innings than it is to be in a position where you're sort of sitting there trying to scratch out 1 run with no runners and 6 outs. If you can get that tying run 90 feet away, it's beautiful. Furthermore, you get that second run in scoring position too. If a guy hits the ball in the gap, you might get both runs home, although Mike Lowell's really not that fast. And he's still on second. So this is Luis Castillo. He stole 21 bases in the regular season. My left monitor is just the recording software, and I don't have any notes here, so I'm going off of memory, which is sort of humorous. But Kerry Wood starts him there with the strike, and notice how much Wood is relying on his fastball here. This is an incredibly important thing to keep track of, because one thing that you need to consider is that with a power pitcher, these are guys who, whenever they power pitcher with control issues, as we see an exceptional heater climbing into the back door there, Jack McKeon cheering Luis Castillo on. Jack McKeon, an incredibly old manager, called him Trader Jack. And there's one of my childhood heroes, Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, on deck. Kerry Wood, there you see most strikeouts. Notice that says Major League and not National League or American League. Him and Mark Pryor were 1 and 2. You've got to love that. 0-2 count. What does Woody go with? Gas. Luis Castillo slashes it away. Now, it's very important to keep in mind, Kerry Wood, right up there with, say, a Pedro Martinez. This was a guy who had exceptional top-tier pitches 1 through 3. He has a hellacious slurve, a god-tier yacker. He's not a fastball-only pitcher. And to me, I was watching this VOD, and this just screamed to me, I have lost control and faith in my slider and my curve, and my pitching coach has told me to really stick with my fastball. So it's 0-2. This is 100% a curveball slider count. What does the big Texan go with? Let's see. Surely he'll bounce one here. Goes with the gas. Luis Castillo, one of these top of the lineup slap fielding middle infielders. This is a guy that you have to consider is like David Eckstein stylistically. He's very hard to get out with gas. It doesn't matter how hard you're throwing. Remember, Kerry Wood here, he's at 100 pitches plus. He might not have as much on his heater as he did at one point, but he's in this position where he has a guy on third. He doesn't want to bounce a ball in the dirt, and suddenly it's a tie game. But there's a bouncer, as he pretty much deduced he wasn't going to be able to get Castillo away with pure heat. Exceptional block here from the catcher. This is just great not to let the run score. Remember, this is 2003 NLCS, which is the semifinals of the World Series. The teams are really playing for the 1 run here. Winning this game is exceptionally important. It's the swing game of a best of 7. The Cubs have their ace on the mound, and Dusty Baker is going to ride his ace. It is as though his pants are filled with lead, and the pitch. It's a heater, and it's a bouncer. That'll get the run in. So notice that after Wood bounced one, didn't want to go with another curve, went back to the heater, and Luis Castillo, remember, very pesky, a very petulant, irritating type of hitter to face. I once interviewed a pitcher named Jimmy Serrano, and he said it wasn't the big power hitters that bothered him the most, it was these pesky style slap hitters like David Eckstein that really were annoying. Kerry Wood here is desperately trying to get out of this inning, and it really says a lot about his manager, Dusty Baker, that he's over 100 pitches. He clearly is having bad control issues, and the best hitter in the lineup is coming up, and Dusty's going to leave him out. This was a theme throughout this entire NLCS where Dusty Baker would overleave his starters in, and if you look at the impact that this had on Pryor and Wood, this would actually affect their careers and would be a contributing factor to their significant injuries, as a slider is the first pitch there against Pudge. Now the history of this game is that Wood had attacked Pudge with sliders and gotten him to strike out over and over. Now the history of this series is that during the NLDS, the semifinal, or the round before this, Pudge had faced the Giants and had this insane hard carry game where he went like 4 for 4 and had all the RBIs, and he was exceptional defensively, and in the clinching play of the game he actually got annihilated, bowled over at the plate by JT Snow, as we see gas for strike 2, 98 paint from Wood, and Pudge got absolutely bowled over, somersaulted, held onto the ball because he's God's here, and they won. And if you look at this series as far as game 1 goes, the Cubs got out to an almost insurmountable advantage when you look at ace versus ace. An 0-2 pitch, slider there at 87, and it bounces another good block. You can see here the trepidation to throw another off-speed pitch here. You can tell Wood, he can bounce it and he can hang it, but he can't truly locate it where he wants it. So what's the catcher going to call here? Wood stalking around. Let's watch Kerry very closely here. This is a defining moment in the game. We see a beautiful pitcher in pitcher, the best catcher ever on the right, an incredible Texan on the left. No shake. First sign fastball in the corner, 98, and it's hit to right field. Ivan Pudge Rodriguez gives the Marlins the lead, and an incredibly clutch performance from Pudge. You've got to love that. And Eric Karros looks repulsed. He spits. And at this point, Dusty Baker is going to have to go get his guy. And you really have to ask yourself there, if Wood had been as effective as he was, say, earlier in this game, or when he's at his absolute peak, would he have gone for a fastball there? Probably not. Oh, as you see, the catcher punches the ground in disgust, and Wood screams "fuck" like me whenever I'm trying to do a big clutch in CS and killed 3 out of the 4 people and then lose the final one. That's one of those moments where you've worked so long. This is one of these starts where Wood has just been incredible all throughout the night. It's one of the biggest games of his entire life. He's been simply phenomenal the whole way out, and that one mistake, that nightmare inning where one close bad call leads to another, comes up to bite him, and he's on the hook for a loss. And you can see Wood kicking the ground in disgust, and Dusty Baker says, "God damn it," tries not to choke on his toothpick. Welcome to ads from 03, but that was pretty much the video. As Wood there, we can see looking disgusted, very angry, and this was just an incredibly tragic moment from one of my heroes, Kerry Wood, and a triumphant moment from another one of my heroes, Ivan Pudge Rodriguez. And I just wanted to highlight this 2003 NLCS because this was one of the series that had the most impact on me as a child. This 2003 NLCS and the 2004 ALCS were the 2 series that I remember the most from my childhood and definitely care the most about. And Pudge Rodriguez just eviscerates the competition and hard carries through this entire postseason run, but specifically the NLDS and the NLCS, the pennant run, is just an absolute monster. So I wanted to catalog some of these highlights, and I hope that was enjoyable. Sub for more.